Welcome to Road to Redline, the #1 Porsche and car podcast celebrating the people and the stories behind the world's finest sports cars. Road to Redline is presented by YouTuber and magazine editor Lee Sibley, serial owner and columnist Joe Williams, and 993 owner Andy Brooks. Three enthusiasts on a mission to open doors and bring you the best stories, secrets, and exclusives from the world of Porsche.
Rolling. Evening, chaps. We're rolling. Back on.
Evening.
Another episode of Road to Redline awaits.
Got an exciting one tonight.
Big time.
We got a. What do you call him?
Mr. Pinky.
Yeah, Mr. Binky. Mr. Binky?
Mr. Binky.
Yeah, Mr. Pinky. So Richie Payne, who we bumped into actually at the Ren 11 Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, we did this week.
At the weekend.
Yeah, and previous weekend as well at
Simply Porsche.
Simply
you guys
Porsche,
bumped into him as well.
Yeah.
So Richie is one of those where everyone seems to know him. Everyone seems to know him.
Must
Well,
get
you all
around a
do.
bit.
Yeah. He's got the coolest job in the world, which we'll find out more on that shortly.
Yeah.
He's written his name in the history books, which we'll also find out about that shortly. And he quite literally lives and breathes the brand. He's bang into it with a really cool standout 964 as well. It's been a hell of a project over the years.
Little Peach, that is.
Yes, appeared in various magazines, and he's done a lot of the work himself. Kyle Fortune, writer, he has one of the best jobs in the car industry as far as I'm concerned. He gets some amazing seats and some awesome cars.
Yeah.
I think he's got the second best job in the automotive industry behind Richie, because he gets to drive all of these cars before everybody else.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And he doesn't have to follow it up with an article or a video or anything like that. He just goes down the pub and tells
just for
everybody
himself,
about
yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So done some really, really cool stuff. But to go with that, one of the most humble blokes I know as well.
Yeah.
So we'll get him through the door.
Absolutely. Game on.
Gents, I want to start by asking Andy and Joe a question today.
Oh,
Here we go.
Here we go. Curveball to begin with. Have you ever had a Guinness World Record holder around your house?
no.
No, I haven't either, actually.
Okay.
Have you?
Don't think so.
Well, I have.
Oh.
Because across the table, rolling his eyes.
Have we got a Guinness World Record holder?
Exactly that. He'll be humble and say, well, actually, it was Porsche. But our guest, Mr. Richie Payne, he's absolutely... You're in the Guinness World Record book somewhere, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yeah. And yeah, it is Porsche's record. I was just driving.
I was only doing the hard
Did your
bit.
name make it in the book?
It never made it in the book.
Oh.
The amount of times
It's
I
not a
went,
record
I went to
thing.
keep flicking for. I think, it must be in there this year. It must be in there this year. But no,
Little
they
footnote
never
at the end.
they never printed it in the book. Well,
No.
I was expecting a full page as well, but no.
little profile and
Yeah.
whatnot as well.
So what were you doing?
So it was towing the production vehicle, towing the heaviest aircraft that we could at
Yeah.
the time. So it was an A380, 285 tons. So with a standard production Cayenne S diesel and a Cayenne Turbo S as well. So used both cars. Standard tow bar, or we'd managed to just make a rig to go from the jockey wheel on the front of the plane, which they use with a tug to tow it, straight onto the normal tow hitch on the back of the Cayenne. So there was method in it. There was a lot of sitting down, a lot of mass as well. A few engineers involved from the UK, but it was just one of those stunts that we just like. Yeah, let's give it a go.
What was the techers? Just e-brake off and floor it.
We messed around with the tyre pressures, bits like that, and then when we went for it, it managed to spin all four wheels on Air France's workshop floor.
Oh, wow.
So this lovely, like
Polished
clinical painted floor, and there's these like 4 burnout marks from the Cayenne. And then it was one of those bizarre moments of saying to the guys, I'm going to unhook the car. Can you just pull the plane forward so I can get the Cayenne onto the tarmac with a bit more grip?
Yeah.
And there was that's fine. Got the tug round, dragged the plane forward, hooked the Cayenne back up. And I just remember I was pretty much in drive, didn't use any of the locks, diff locks. It was just literally drive and go.
Yeah.
Took my foot off the brake, foot flat to the floor, and what seemed like forever, I was just looking in the mirror and I could just see the wheels starting to turn on. I was like, we're off, we're going, and then that was it. Once you've got
Once you've got that initial,
once you got that got it rolling,
Bit
and
of
that was
inertia.
it. Yeah.
How bad did it smell while it was doing that?
It was fine. It was
Really?
absolutely
Oh my
fine.
God.
And then the car went away to be inspected to make sure it hadn't been modified in any way. But so before we even started, they sealed the OBD socket, and the engine management was sealed with like some sort of like stickers almost. That
Guinness
you
World
tear off.
Record tape.
So yeah, we had to get in. They do like NCAT testing, and so they came out to inspect the car beforehand.
That's a proper serious job then.
Yeah, to get it into the record books.
To be honest, did you do a test run before secretly?
So we went to RF Kemble where they break sort of aircraft. So there was a 747 there that was being broken. It didn't have any engines, but it still had, I think it was 150 tons of fuel on board. So we went down with another KM, hooks up all the test rig, and it pulled that with no problem.
Okay.
So like, okay, let's do it. So that was it. Then it was full steam ahead, and we were off with the project. And then next thing we got to France, and you don't really know what the plane's going to weigh, because it all depends how much fuel they've left in it, or if it's been refueled. So
If the shit tanks are still full.
yeah, you got it. So we got there and like, we've checked. Yes, 285 tons, and I was sort of we're looking at each other, and I was like, okay, this is a bit of a jump from what we've done. I was like, let's give it a go. And that is that usual thing. I was like, yeah, let's just give it a go. And yeah, it's good as gold. So then the car was then taken away and had to go to a test facility to make sure it was all as it should be. And I flew back out to meet them, and it was like this weird kind of almost like a military base. I remember walking in there, covering up all the cameras on it. It's a bit like Myra and that kind of thing in France, and wandering around in this workshop, seeing some weird and wonderful French manufacturers' cars that are all kind of prototypes and bits. And one was like this electric off-roader, which they were doing water, like wading it into water. I was like,
don't want to be driving that.
Yeah. So anyway, they went out on done a little test on the car, and I just jumped in it and drove it straight back to Reading. So
Really?
and all I done just as a precaution was change the diff oil. That was it.
Wow. What, afterwards?
Afterwards, and then it stayed on the press fleet for, I think it's about sort of 10,000 miles.
Brilliant. Absolutely.
So does that mean somebody in the UK is driving around in that car somewhere?
That car, yeah. So again, it wasn't just a case of change the diff oil and leave it. It had structural checks and bits like that done on it just to make sure everything was okay. Because it wasn't a long wheelbase Cayenne at the end of it or anything like that. So that car is somewhere on someone's driveway, and it's a record.
Didn't it get a little plaque on the dash?
The Turbo S did, yeah.
Right,
so
okay.
we kept the diesel was sold, and we kept the Turbo S on fleet for quite a while, and it had a plaque on the dashboard.
Yeah.
But that car as well, we've sold it now. It's not on fleet anymore.
Yeah.
But the plaque came off, and it's
Absolutely.
It's out in the wild now somewhere. But it was one of those that's like had
Yeah.
a bit of a soft spot for that car.
Yeah, I bet.
So,
I bet.
yeah, it was-
Literally wrote yourself into history with that.
Yeah, it was good
Or wrote
good
Porsche
fun.
GB
But
into it.
I still remember though driving around the front of the hangar at Air France, and there was two A380s already on the tarmac, and there was this other one in the hangar, and I was looked at the size of them, and I was like, oh,
This is just
what are we doing? So it was one of those
Yeah.
moments of,
Yeah.
and it was nerve wracking at the time
Okay.
because there was so many people, so much at stake.
Yeah.
The
And
Cayenne must look miniature compared to
it
that.
did, when you look at some of the photos afterwards,
Yeah.
you kind of got the front landing gear, and that's kind of where the roof is.
Yeah.
And that afternoon, the plane, after we'd done our stunt, the plane flew to Los Angeles. So it was literally just had a service, and they said we could
Absolutely.
mess about with it.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's so many questions. I mean, like, it's a fantastic surplus of budget, obviously, in the press department of Porsche GB at the time, I can imagine, to get that over the line.
No, I can't comment on that really. But
Well, it's a great bit of PR.
yeah,
at
that was
end
the
of
thing,
day, so-
and it went viral really in the end. We were surprised how much it took off, and I think at one point there's sort of like 5 million views on YouTube.
Awesome, yeah.
Was that
and
early
bits,
days of the Cayenne?
so this would have been Gen 2 E2 KM. So it was kind of coming to like 2016, 17, coming towards the end of that his life cycle.
We spoke, and we'll give you a proper. We'll do our due diligence on your intro shortly. But your colleague at Porsche GBPR, Rob Durrant, we had him on at Series 1.
Yep.
And we were talking about how press teams in kind of the modern age have gone from being reactive, they're creating their own stories, frankly, and this is a really good example of that, and the kind of the positive impact that can have on the industry, because it went everywhere. You know, it's people's pages are filling up with Cayenne talk or content, and that kind of didn't
Probably quite
otherwise
hard to
happen,
do up to that point, I'd imagine.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So in terms of like getting that, you know, usually it will be the 911s, the sports cars, essentially.
Yeah.
Cayman, Boxster, etc. Obviously, there's a Taycan thing. What is that going on? Can this pick that up as well?
Might pick that up a little bit.
I mean, I'm actually
I
informed.
think that's a seal being
No,
killed.
my wife, who's a dog walker, said that's a dog like yours, Andy, like short-nosed
Oh, really?
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also sounds like me on a Sunday morning after going to
I
the
don't
pub.
know about that.
Dear. We better let him do his thing, shall we? Or just crack on with it.
Yeah, let's just crack on.
Crack on.
Yeah.
All right, fine. So that's a really good example of that, I think. So you're definitely kind of proactive.
Yeah, it went a lot further than what we ever imagined. So, and it did. You know, KM was already on the map, but it kind of really got it out there. And just and the funniest thing was the tow bar. The company that manufactures the tow bar for Porsche actually got in touch. I said, "What did you do to it?" Because it was the electric tow bar, completely standard.
Yeah.
And they said, "What did you do? Did you modify it?" And we're like, "No, I literally just pressed the button and it swung out
flipped
from the
out.
back of the car, and we hooked an aeroplane onto it." And they were blown away
Yeah.
that how strong it stood up to it and bits like that. Because it's a different kind of force though going through the car, really. So that was what we had to get our heads round.
Okay.
With what sort of forces would go through the car and bits like that, and it's not. It's weird that it's not as stressful on the car as what you'd imagine. It is a lot of its inertia, just getting it rolling.
Yeah. So were you selected, or did you volunteer to do the drive? Because obviously that role does require a basic grasp of physics at the very least, but also some mechanical empathy.
Yeah, I think.
I reckon I could have had a go.
I'll be honest. I think it was just from the outset I was involved in the project.
Yeah.
There wasn't really any, let's be honest, any great skill. It was point it in the right direction and just go for it. But
I'm trying to do you a favour.
Oh, I know, but I'm not going to try and blow smoke up my own backside. But there's a lot of it was just keeping an eye on temperatures. That was the big thing. As I was either looking in the mirror or staring down at the gauges on the dash, and just wait. I had all the gearbox. You can change the profiles and bits. So there's all the different temperatures on there as well. So I was just constantly looking at that and the engine temperature and other bits and bobs. But I think because from the outset we're all involved, and it was just like I'd done a bit of work with looking at the ratios in the gearbox and the diff, and looking how stuff was, if it was going to hold up, basically. And it was kind of like, I think it'd be fine. And it was one of those typical me, it'd be fine. Well, come on then, come and get involved, sort of thing.
Right,
So
that's cool. Because I know you do your calculations and whatnot beforehand in your approach, your diligence, as we spoke about. But if it doesn't work, people do look to the bloke behind the wheel and they kind of go, "Nice one, mate." Come all the way to France to do this.
It was
record.
those first couple of attempts when it was just spinning the wheels, and I just remember looking out the passenger window and looking at the rest of the team standing there, all just staring at me.
Do something.
Right, what should we do now?
Yeah. Can you claim lunch back on expenses if you didn't get the record? Do you know what I mean?
You can go back on the ferry.
Swim
Put that duty free down.
The moment though it started to move, even all the engineers from Air France were there, so it was like a fully functional workshop. So to begin with, there was a little bit like what are these guys trying to do? And then after a while, you could see everyone was just getting absorbed into it.
Rooting for it.
And there was guys. I still remember glancing across. There was an A380 parked up with the doors open, no ladders or anything, and they're all hanging out of the doors of the plane watching. And then once it had done the first run, then we hooked up the Turbo S and done it again, and they all were just, everyone was sort of cheering and arms in the air, and it was a really good feeling actually.
Absolutely.
And
Fantastic.
and relief at the same time.
Yeah,
So
I bet.
Why did you do it with both? Just out of interest.
we wanted to see if it would do both, because the torque was about the same. So it's like the diesel 850 newton meters of torque, and the Turbo S I think it was 800 at the time. Both about the same, and curiosity was the biggest thing. We took both, but the Cayenne diesel was the car we were going to go for the record. And then we was like, do you want to have a go? I was like, yeah, let's go for it. So then we ended up hooking up the Turbo S as well, and they both just absolutely breezed it. So
Amazing.
Yeah. You couldn't have the headline going to a diesel Porsche.
Actually, that was like Dieselgate time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone was going anti-diesel.
I think it's after that
Richie
now.
sweating.
No, it's after that now. But,
What I will say is that day is pretty indicative of your job, because you do have the best job in the car industry, I'm certain.
Oh, you said
Kyle
this before.
Fortune has a good one, and Richie Payne definitely does.
I'm lucky. I did get to some really cool stuff. Drive some cool cars before a lot of other people get into them. Stuff from the museum as well, which is good fun. So I am grateful for the stuff I do.
So to give you a proper introduction, because I don't actually know your job title, but you are at Porsche GB. You are working with the PR.
That's right.
PR division. But like, what is your job? Superman.
Fixer.
Porsche Superman.
Record holder.
Technical press officer.
Right. Okay.
Or just Richie.
Just Richie Payne, basically. Yeah. So how long have you been at Porsche for now?
It'll be 17 years in September.
Okay.
Wow.
So
You must like it then.
Yeah, no day's the same. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't get boring, put it that way. So,
did you come in like at the beginning? Did you go straight into that role? What was your journey into?
Oh, when I first
GB?
I came from another German brand into
We don't
Porsche.
talk about those.
So, and came straight into. I heard there was positions going at the operations side of the business. So. That was it, and then came in, started off doing like new cars, PDIs, and a lot of the time was like wheel alignments and geometries, that kind of thing. So got that. There's me and one of the other guys. That was kind of our thing, was doing like wheel alignments and stuff. And then I made it clear that that's where I wanted to go. And I think it's probably about 15 years I've been doing the press cars now. So sort of dropped straight into it a lot quicker than what I thought, and never looked back really. And used to be me and one of my colleagues looked after the cars at Silverstone as well. So we'd look after all the cars up at PEC.
Would you go to the cars there, or do the cars come to Reading first?
So originally they used to be run out of Reading before PEC was built.
Yeah.
And then we used to do sort of week on, week off, go to Silverstone and do that. And then my colleague Dave, he's up there full time now. So I'm looking at the press fleet back at Reading, and he's got the...
So have they got workshops and everything all up there?
They've just had I think it's 6-ramp workshop built, brand new workshop and facilities built. So it's
self-sufficient then.
Yeah, self-sufficient, and it's pretty busy up there. I think it keeps there's always something to do with cars out on track every day. So.
Well, your job role, I imagine, has changed quite a lot over the years, because as we spoke about on Series 1 with Rob, the role of the press department, I think, has changed over the years, but also the model lineup at Porsche has expanded exponentially in your time.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, 996s were still was still being PDI'd, so like Turbo S's and Carrera 4S's and bits like that. So I've seen quite a few model changes of 911. And like you say, the lineup and it's just got bigger and bigger. It's like with Taycan as well, being one of the biggest.
This is the electric question now.
Yeah, I'm on board.
You have to be.
No, I'll take my Porsche hat off. I'd have one tomorrow. From the first time I drove one, again, that was quite a good trip as well, of sort of off to LA and then chaperoning a car out there. It was a whistle-stop tour of being out there for a day, and that was it, and coming back again. But the moment I got in it, I was like, this is a Porsche. And you could sort of first quarter of a mile, steering, brakes, all that. I was like, they've really...
Good.
They've hit the nail on the head with this. So I'd have one tomorrow. So I'm sold.
Right. Okay. Fine.
But still petrol head. But there's always room for change.
We'll go on to your 964 a little bit later on, and other kind of bits and pieces away from that.
That's a massive evolution that you've seen, isn't it? To go 996 through to the new GT3.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
one thing though. I've always found they call it the Porsche DNA, and it's true. It does follow through. So 996. Right up to like 992 now, you can still see there's that. Everything's the same, but they just build upon it. So we get cars quite early, and there's not always technical manuals. So there's a lot of self-learning going on within our sort of department where we are, not just press, but in the workshops as well. But everything kind of has the same if you go to, like, I don't know, say you're going to take a door card off of a car, it roughly will be the same as what it was on the previous model.
There's no huge transition to some new design.
Yeah,
it's always
and it is that thing of they're good quality because they stick to what they know. Really, is my opinion. And they just improve on what they've already got, and it just keeps getting better. So there's been a lot of change.
Yeah. Are you ever? I'm always surprised, pleasantly shocked that they can improve on the last one. When the new model comes out and you think, it can't get any better than that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the same with like GT3.
Yeah.
I mean, 991, GT3 and RS, you think, where can they possibly go?
Surely they're done at that point.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then 992 came out, and I'm lucky and fortunate enough I've driven one and been out and had a mess about in the car on track. And you think, how do they just keep pushing it on, kind of thing?
So what's your take on the new GT3? Come on, it's hot.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's great. The double wishbone front suspension, they're not reinventing the wheel. It's been around for a while, but just the way it composes itself on road and track, it's just, it is impressive, I must admit.
Talking of suspension, lots of people have talked about hard suspension on these.
Yeah.
What's your take on it? Harder than 991?
I'd probably say actually it's better. To me, I jumped in it and it felt no different to a 992 Carrera.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can say that. I jump in and out of them all day long.
Yeah.
So, and the first time I drove it, I was like, the ride was so smooth. You get it on any bad British road, it's going to be no different to being in a Golf GTI, really. A bad road's a bad road. I have read bits in the press, not saying they're wrong by any means, but my opinion, it rides really well.
Yeah.
I mean, A roads and bits like that. Most of my time is spent on the A4 or the M4, and it's just so composed and smooth. But you get it on a bad B road, like any car. But then it doesn't seem any different to a 991. 997, bits like that, really. So the ride is kind of...
So it's something that sort of has gone into sort of folklore, but may not be true.
Again, I can't say that everyone's wrong. It's just people's opinions. So, but
the GT3, I think, is a great topic to focus on because, when journalists and whatnot get these cars, do their bits with them, it kind of drips through social media and people say, I've seen that car everywhere. They'll recognise the number plate, or the Targa Heritage Edition, for example, at the moment stands out on its own. And your role is to ensure those cars are going out and are roadworthy and are in the very best condition possible and mechanically sound and whatnot. That must surely be the biggest pain in the bum because there are so many bookings and there's so much that kind of can go wrong. It kind of blows my mind really as to how you kind of run a tight ship there. But the GT3 is a good one to focus on. So that car, you guys at GB had to work extremely hard for that shark blue GT3 992 a couple of weeks ago at Bedford.
That's right.
So are you able to kind of just shed some light to listeners at home as to what levels of effort you had to go into get that?
At the same time, there was other like international launches going on in Germany,
States.
The state PCNA had cars as well. So cars were limited. There isn't an endless supply of cars. There's not like a compound full of GT3. So we managed to get the first right-hand drive pre-production car. So that'll literally be the first car that they build in right-hand drive format, and we're quite fortunate that the relationship with Germany, that car will now stay at PC for deposited drives and bits like that, so it'd be like a permanent fixture at Silverstone. So we had to, there wasn't many sort of German press cars available because of the launch, so it was a case of moving heaven and earth just to get that particular car over to do the launch. So there's a lot of begging, and if you want to put it that way, getting the car, and then it's right at the last minute, and so that car turned up with probably just a few days to spare, get it prepped, make sure everything's okay.
It's weird because in the big world of Porsche, you would assume that they were already sort of pre-allocated and they were pre-booked in, and you would just sort of, they'll be there on that
We
day.
put the request in like well in advance, but I must admit, with what's going on in the world, what's going on in the world at the moment, an international launch, we would have been sending media abroad. So suddenly you're having to get cars to different parts of the world for doing
like
decentralized launches.
Yeah, so it's not normal times in any way, is it?
Yeah. No, but and it has its pros and its cons. We can get more people through the car, and more people can get near it rather than having a limited number that you send on like an international launch. But again, it's logistics, and that awful word Brexit hasn't helped as well.
Yeah,
to a degree. So
when the car turned up, was it then that you realised that you had one set of tyres for essentially 4 days and 8 journalists? Or?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a lot of asking people to be sympathetic for the next person.
Are you a religious man?
And asking it's not just that day, that person. There's other people got to go through the car as well after you, kind of thing. So it's kind of just tapping into you guys, Lee, when you're out in the car, just kind of like, can you help us out, please, as well?
Don't curb the shit out of it. Yeah.
So, and get a dynamic drive, get a feel for the car. Don't by any means hold back from what you want to do, because we want a true representation of a story and an opinion.
Just stay off the curbs.
But just please stay off the curbs, because you don't want to delaminate a tyre. And you can do the drifty, smoky stuff to get the shots as well, but there's a lot of tyre management that goes on. So there's a lot of me waving my arms, calling the car in. So it's always okay. Go out, do a couple of laps, then we get all we bleed the tyre pressures down to get them. The worst thing you need is a tyre overinflating, because it will start to delaminate. So you go out, get temperature in the tyres, bring the car back in, drop the tyre pressures down to what they should be for track purposes, or even just manufacturer's specs. Then go out again, do a few laps, bring it in, check them again. So there's a lot of messing around, it seems, at the time, but it's got to be done to get to get it done, really. And we're only only a few of us there. It's kind of me. We had a on-site tyre fitter, colleague Rob, Rory was there as well. So kind of a small team, but just trying to get the most of what we could out of the car.
To get the job done. And then that's where the content creators, be it there were videos on YouTube, magazine articles, obviously Autocar, I think in the space of 3 days or whatever it was, they then did their bit. So it was on the shelf 3 days later on for people to absorb. So that all kind of happens because of your hard work and diligence. So we're all kind of lucky, really, that
it's not just me, but the team. It is a team thing. Everyone plays their part and does their bit. So I'm very much. It's not just me.
Do you get some guys turn up and just use and abuse it? Yeah, so as much as you say to them, look, can you respect it? Is there some characters that not that we're asking to name and shame? Obviously,
no, there's been probably moments in the past. I must admit, now last few years been good, but probably years gone by, there's been the odd occasion where can you just like
rein in a bit?
Yeah, just a little bit, please.
I'll take the car home.
and then it's some of the stuff as well when you're doing. Not just like track day stuff as well, perhaps more kind of production stuff as well, when there's kind of some crazy stunts going on, and you just have to be a little bit. Can you not do that in the politest way possible? I've only got one of these. It's that kind of.
Have you done your health and safety on this?
We're not there to spoil people's fun a bit. And like the GT2 RS, when we had that, I was chaperoning it pretty much the entire time it was on fleet. So it was the first time we had a 700 horsepower GT car.
That's the thing, if somebody calls up and they go, well, I'd just like to drive that for an article. I've got a website. I made it yesterday called 991GT2RS.com. And, is it week loan all right? And maybe we'll go down to Monaco and back, and you've got to go like,
Didn't you borrow that car for a week?
Yeah, definitely not a week. I had it 48 hours, and it needed a new windscreen, actually.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah. Thanks, mate.
I think you let me sweat on that for 24 hours before going, I think it's actually had about 5. So, cheers for that.
Radio silence.
Yeah, great. Yeah, been blacklisted.
What's the worst thing that's ever happened? That you think of? Come on, we want to know the stories. Has anyone rolled a car?
We've had one, and that was a long time ago, but it was a complete accident, and luckily no one was hurt, because that was standing water and aquaplaned. But that's.
I know that feeling.
Been there, but that was going back. That's like well over 10 years ago now. But other than that, no, we don't really. It's silly stuff like
touching wood everywhere.
There's lots of cars out at the moment. But it's silly stuff like curbed wheels or windscreens, and it's just daft bits and bobs, or a hybrid will go out and it doesn't come back with the charging back in the boot, and you're like, oh, so you kind of sometimes robbing Peters of bits out of one car until it comes back, sort of. But we've only got a small fleet of cars as well, so I haven't got the luxury of if say we lose a Carrera, we've only got one. So it's all hands to the pump to, if anything happens, if we need tyres or get a wheel refurbished, it's kind of, we're up against it a little bit.
Can you tell when they come back and people have maybe been a bit more sporting with them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even just walking up to it in the car park, I can see straight away. Yeah. It's always that glance at the tyres.
We can see tyre thread.
And bits like that. Or the state of it as well, because if it's...
We're not talking about the way Lee brings them back now, are we?
You're not that bad. I'll make you sweat every time. Every time.
There's Aaron as well, who's obviously in COVID times responsible for
that's right, yeah,
cleaning the car or whatever on the inside. Can't think of the appropriate term for that, but
you wouldn't know, would you?
Has he got a nice hat?
Because you've lost the hat in a press car. He goes on about it every episode. We'll find it. Actually, you turned up in a really nice hat.
It's lovely. Yeah, I left it in the car though.
Yeah. I have to say, and I said to Aaron, whose role is to turn the car around responsibly for the next person.
Yeah, he does our sanitisation process.
Yes, okay, there we go. And I will always try and leave the cars in the condition I found it. And actually, while the car is in my kind of stewardship, is to treat it like my own, because it comes down to respect ultimately. I thought it was. I'm disdisappointed you've not kind of given me the A star at this point. So
no, you're right. You're a safe pair of hands, Lee. Don't worry.
So while we're on press cars, I would like to know: would you, obviously press cars end up going back out into the world, as we said? Yeah. Would you ever buy a press car?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they get a pampered life.
Oh,
absolutely. Service.
I mean, they service every week.
GT cars get serviced in between schedules and bits like that. They get quite a pampered life. So if they do like a track day,
they're built to do those things, aren't they? So
but it's kind of like XLG, for instance. Our love Orange GT3 RS that hit 40,000 miles before it got deflated.
Had to be the 991 RS.
That's right.
The most miles on the planet. I put that on Instagram, and I think there was one in US that had done 28k, and there was nothing else near it.
It was good as gold. It never missed a beat, that car. And that, again, not just saying it, it was brilliant. It just kept eating up the miles. But
I wonder where that car is now. I'd love to know the sort of person that goes, I'm going to buy a 40,000 mile.
I know where it is, but I'm not privy to say. It's in safe hands, though.
I bet. But I mean,
is it still being driven? That's the question.
Yeah, it still gets driven. So, but I remember doing the first service on that car when it was 3 months old. So it hit like 12,000 miles, I think it was, in 3 months. It was doing like 4,000 miles a month at one point, that car.
Wow.
So it was, but it was just stood up to it as well.
That's the greatest advocate of Porsche as an engineering company. Is what they build absolutely stands up to task.
It's a shame they couldn't just keep running that to like 100,000 or something.
It was tempting. There was talk of it staying on like the we call it the heritage fleet, but it was talk of it. But to bring in the next car, the Gen 2 was coming, so really they've still got to do a job, and we've got to let go of stuff really, because we're trying to push the message for the next car as well. And then there's that, you can't keep them all. That's the trouble. We haven't got a big enough compound to keep them all. So
is there a heritage fleet that you look after as well?
Now we've got Hebe, which is our 997 3.8 GT3 RS. We've just had to let go of a few now, because again, if they're not working, there's not a business case to keep them, unfortunately. So the 981 GT4 PGE, that's departed.
That was a shame. Mofo, I hear, is gone. The Carrera 2.
No, we still got that.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
we're hanging on to it.
The yellow one.
Wow,
yeah, the yellow one.
Is that because Rob's eyeing it up?
I think Rob's got a soft spot for it.
Do they all get nicknames then? Is it from the number plate? Or
the number plates usually. And there was a time where we would go through the list of number plates and just pick out something that was easy to remember or bits like that. But they all get a nickname. At the moment, we've got, trying to think now, we've got D-Fuzz, which is just DFZ, but they all get like sort of nicknames and bits like that.
What is D-Fuzz?
Taycan. Taycan 4S. So,
okay.
But that's all that goes through my head most days is reg numbers. That's constantly just.
But you spec the cars as well.
Yeah, I help.
Increasingly
Yeah,
these
we
days,
get. I get involved with specing the cars. More on
That's pretty cool.
a technical kind of view of like, was that going to work? Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, it is great because it's. Not gonna lie, it's spending someone else's money, isn't it? Really, and stuff. But
so you're ready to spec it, and then it turns up, and you're like, "That's
oh,
crazy."
what have I done?
Yeah, I think But no, the first few times it's like, wow, I was involved with that and bits, and it is great when you, especially if you get one. We had a couple in like PTS colours, and when you actually see the end product as well, you think, thank God.
Have you started any trends by doing as you've done the press one? Has that spec then gone on to
we had
really
our Turbo S Cabriolet KPE. There you go. I remember the reg number,
KPE,
which was gentian blue, with a two-tone interior. It was crayon and black interior, and the exclusive wheels in platinum. And the amount of cars, and I do know, I've spoken to some of the sales guys at Reading after they saw that car. Some customers changed their spec to copy the press car because it just it did work. But it's one of those when we ordered the cars, we don't get like a configurator that the customer would get. We get like a PDF. And we literally just go through, and it's one of those if you're just reading codes and numbers, and you think in your head you're trying to visualise, is that going to work? And
have you had any howlers turn up where you're like, oh god?
It's that pink Taycan.
I think we should answer that.
I was going to say, what do you think?
what I will say is, I think after the 911R, where everybody, the manual was back in business, and there was a 991.2 Carrera, and you spec'd it with the manual. Admittedly, it's the 7-speed, obviously not the 6, so you can't put the 6-speed on a non-GT car, but super basic spec. And that really resonated with journalists, because usually press cars are spec to the hill. And that was really basic. And then you went even further this time around with 992, the departed Carrera. I know you've just replaced it, but that had 4 options.
That's right, yeah.
And it was like brilliant, because for the first time you can really see what comes out of the box with your 911, and it was sublime.
It wasn't that bad either, was it? Yeah. I was involved with that. Yeah. So we do look at price point as well. So you think, right, let's sometimes they're loaded up to the hilt because you want to showcase the tech and what is available. If you want, you don't have to spec it, but it's great to have a test bed, because some cars we always make sure there's like Burmeister on a car, because it's not just automotive journalists. We've got hi-fi publications as well that do bits on like car hi-fis, that kind of thing. So we're trying to cater for everybody, and then every now and again you might get a customer request and the car will perhaps go to maybe Reading next door, or somebody will come down because they want to see this specific option on the car or colour or that kind of thing.
So customers might come and view a press car just to see the bits on it.
Yeah, usually we leave it out the front a bit, and there's been the odd occasion that, I don't know, maybe the centres haven't got the demo, they can have a look round the press car kind of thing. Like I know recently it was a Macan GTS, because we work quite closely with obviously Reading next door, and so we took it around the front for them, give them the keys, and let the customer have a look round it, because there wasn't one available. So we all try and help each other out.
There's doing that as great. It was as a gesture to say this is the entry level 911, this is what comes out of the box. Has it kind of bit you in the balls a little bit? Because I mean, we spoke about it on this podcast. There were countless YouTube videos saying, the 992 Carrera is all the 911 you need. Was there an influx of people walking into a Porsche dealership and saying 992 C2? No options. Okay, thanks. Bye. When's delivery?
No, I think because it's you can make it so individual.
Yeah,
there's still always that thing.
I don't think that's even possible. I think you've got to be, unless you're forced to. I think it's almost an impossible task. Because when someone gives you a shopping list and to go, don't tick any of these options.
But you know what it's like on the configurator. Before you realise it, you're on a C2
easy
or
to get drawn
C2S,
in.
and you're 20 grand in or 25 grand in, and you're like, wow, okay.
Then you think, I might as well get the S.
Some
of that stuff's standard.
And that's like the S starts, and it's so easy to get an S into 6 figures. Like, so easy these days.
I'm just trying to. I need to see some of these cars you're configuring. You said we're bad.
Excellent. But it is, and again, I just think it's the master of restraint, and actually there are some brilliantly spec 911s out there, old and new, that are actually quite basic. Yeah. I personally think the thing that you need to get right, that a lot of people forego, is the seat choice, and specing proper seats. I just don't think you can kind of go to...
Where do you stop then? Because then you go seats, and then you go, what, steering wheel?
You got to have the sport.
You see what I mean? It starts, and you go. Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, interestingly, my very, very first Porsche was, of all things, a Cayman.
Yeah.
A 987 Cayman when they just come out. And it turned out, there was actually... And the reason I ended up in one, because there was some crazy cheap lease deals on them. And I thought, okay, fine. It was on stock cars. Yeah. I thought... I never thought I was going to get myself into a Porsche. This was like too good to be true. Grabbed it. Completely standard, not a single option.
Really?
So
awesome.
A 2.7 manual, 0 option car.
That's what I had. I had a 2.7 manual, 5-speed manual.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, you just you drove every last horsepower out of it, and it was like you say about everything now is bigger engined, and you can't really drive into it, and it's like amazing. Yeah. And that's literally that was the most fun car ever, and that literally was a 0 option.
Yeah, I think mine had 19-inch wheels and red seat belts. That was it. So it was just...
So there we go.
That's all you need.
You're evangelical about a Bogo spec, 0 options kind of Porsche. So
I mean, it's the way to go. I would
it's just easy to get.
I would love to see anybody walk into a centre and actually order one.
Yeah,
I'd love to know how many get ordered. Basic spec.
It's surprising actually that you see them sort of. I'm lucky that where I am, they cover retail group. So you see a lot of cars. So you see quite extravagant stuff from going to Mayfair. And then you'll see the complete other end of the spectrum. There's a Cayman actually came through, completely standard, apart from it was in PTS. So it had
interesting.
So, and it was olive green PTS,
nice.
And it's lovely. But it had just the standard 18-inch wheels and bits like that.
As it comes out of the box.
And I was like, oh, okay, really nice looking car. And then it popped up. I think it was at Bicester or something like that. A picture of it popped up in Bicester Heritage, like a scramble weekend or something. Yeah. I was like, oh, there's that Cayman again, and that was it. Just that colour is just the hook and bits, really.
Colour's so important, isn't it?
I think all the bits you add on. I mean, I know obviously some of them add to the drive, obviously they do, but so many of them don't. And it's like that's the thing, isn't it? It's getting drawn into all the other stuff, and that's where I think people get carried away, don't they? Like you said, you end up with all sorts of trinkets and bits of finish and bits of Alcantara. And
I'm an absolute sucker for exclusive stuff, though. Porsche exclusive, the finish and bits like that, and the leather work is just unbelievable sometimes. So I'm
You're
worst for that.
Carbon junkie.
I don't mind a bit of carbon, but I love a bit of colour coding.
Yeah,
so like our GT4 we've got on fleet at the moment, it's Guards Red, and all the trim inside is all colour coded. I like a bit of that.
Where it's across the dash.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
And our 4S, I think, have you driven that? The A8 grey?
Yes.
That's got all colour coded dash trims in the 992, which works. It's grey.
That works. That's a bit.
It's got Bordeaux red interior and grey. Painted trims. I like a bit of that. Yeah, it's just...
And a sunroof, which again, press cars, they're usually just tin top, and it was thanks to that sunroof that we were able to do the cover shot, because we put that 992 against the 959.
Yeah,
and we had the photographer was like, "Oh, brilliant! Well, there's the
cover shot.
Package.
Brilliant.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Awesome.
Yeah, we try and mix it up a little bit. Like you say, sunroofs. We've got the manual at the moment, sunroof. The 4S got a sunroof. So, and also you can fit a roof transport system with a sunroof.
Ooh, yeah. Again, well, that kind of feeds into the lifestyle choice, which some of these cars clearly do. Like, obviously, you can't fit that to a Targa, but a Targa is a lifestyle car, so you would spec that accordingly over, a Bogo C2, for example.
And we try and that's with the colours as well. Because a lot of that is, you got the ones that pop on a cover or just stand out on the page. And then we might do one more for like a lifestyle kind of magazines and bits like that, which would be more...
They probably don't want it Guards Red or whatever, do they?
Yeah, a little bit more subtle. So it's a bit like we've got 2 GT4s at the moment, luckily. One PDK, one manual.
Awesome.
And the manual that was one of those that we had an option for PTS, but because it's such limited numbers, we had a moral choice of let it go out to the customers because, we shouldn't keep them all for ourselves. We could, but
so you get limited PTS across the whole
do like a production run
country.
So there'd be like so many build slots for PTS for like the UK. There'd be so many for other countries as well.
So you don't get to override that with yours.
It is just literally luck of the draw. If we're replacing one of our press cars at exactly the same time there's an opening, then we might get a PTS slot.
Okay, interesting.
You know, bring them up and just say, look, I'm not being funny, mate, but I'll put you in the record books last week.
I want everything in Rubystone. Rubystone Cayenne.
Is there one?
I'm sure we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago as like what not to do. So.
Can you just give us the little reference that I heard the other weekend as to the other description of Rubystone, please?
What was that? Oh, what? Not Mr. Pinky. Yeah, that's a nickname for my car that's stuck. Yeah,
fantastic.
That's thanks to Matt and the guys.
Yeah.
I think that's a good time to talk about your car. So you mentioned you had a Cayman to begin with. Your current steed you've had for years.
Yeah, had it.
It's a 964 that is Rubystone.
Yeah.
And it looks rather different to any other 964. So talk us through your kind of journey with that.
Oh, so that was 2009. I bought my 964. So it wasn't originally
For 50p?
Yeah. So yeah, but it was one of those that were in like recession sort of territory, and I thought I'm going to buy a 911. And I remember I had a BMW at the time, 330. Got out of that quickly, and I was like, I'm going to buy a 964. And so I remember I probably growing up. I remember being 14 years old and sitting in a black 964. I was like, I'm going to have one of these one day. And kind of stuck with it. And then I had this goal of before I'm 30, I want a 911. So when I was 29, got my 964. But yeah, I got memories going right back when I was at primary school, and my dad having a friend's 930 turbo. And I remember just walking out, it's got 3 exhausts. This is amazing. And going out for a blast up the road in it. And I just remember it sort of like snaking up the road as my dad's changing gear. I was like, God, this thing's crazy. And so kind of the hook, I think it started being subliminal messages like, at a young age of where I was going to end up going. But so yeah, at 29 got 964, which actually got through Ray Northway from Northway,
so local to Porsche Centre Reading.
Then, so he knew I was looking for one, and he took it in part exchange. And I remember going to look at it on some rainy afternoon and it looked really sorry for itself. And then so I was like, yeah, I really like it. It was Guards Red. When I any colour, but Guards Red. That's what I put it on my 964. And then I rolled up and there it was, in Guards Red. But in my head, I had different ideas for it. It was never good. It was already.
Did you have the plan before you bought it?
Yeah, already in my head, I knew what I was going to do. Because a few of the guys in Germany and Holland were starting to modify them, and there was sort of about 5 or 6 sort of big cars out there.
Yeah.
So already been going to like Werthersea Treffen and bits like that, and seeing a couple rolling around out there. And I was like, yeah, I've got this build in my head that I want to do, and so that was it. I remember taking my dad with me, and he's like looking at it. He's like, you're going to buy it, aren't you? I was like, yeah. And he was really sceptical at first because it was different shades of red. It was a bit tatty. It was just used. It was someone's everyday, and it was my daily driver. So that was it. So
you said it was C2 or C4?
C2 manual.
C2. Yeah. Early or late? So.
Yes, it's 1993 registered.
Oh, wow,
it's late.
So very late.
Yeah.
Oh, late register. But...
but built in 91.
Yeah.
And then
that
registered
just shows
in 93.
how unloved they were back, like when they were being built.
Yeah.
So, give them away back then, could they?
It was the recession kicked in, and there was, I think there's quite a few like sitting waiting for owners.
Yeah.
But it was originally, I think Lancasters. I think it was in Bristol or something. It went through. So originally, so I managed to pull all the paperwork on it and all the history and bits. But it stayed a local car because one of the guys at work, Paul, that works for Northway, he owned the car many moons ago when it was a finance snatchback. So he's done
the hard life there.
Yeah, it's done the rounds, the car, and then he sold it. Doctor owned it, and he bought a 993 and part exchanged it, and then I ended up with it. So that's
excellent.
So 11 years now I've had it, and it's So
do you want to give us the short list? What have you done to it? What haven't you done to it?
God, you know what? It doesn't owe me that much, which probably makes people sick as well, really. But I paid sort of single figures for it.
Wow,
So it's just under 10 grand I paid. I don't mind telling what I paid for it. So
brilliant.
But
that was that time, wasn't it, when 964s were just so, they just weren't in, were they?
Yeah, I remember sort of looking at a few, and it's like the the top end would be sort of like 15 for, but also at the same time,
they were, definitely.
I remember seeing 964 RSs for like 30.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I really stretch myself when there's a recession on? But hindsight, but I'm happy with what I got.
You wouldn't have done what you've done
exactly.
to yours. And
I probably would, on an RS as well. Then probably regretted it, but no. So I've rebuilt the engine. That was 10 years ago. So oil leaks and bits like that.
Yeah.
And then that sort of just snowballed into a full strip down. And luckily,
is that what started it then? An engine rebuild, and then you just couldn't stop.
Yeah, I've always had in my head I wanted to colour change it.
Yeah.
And in the paintwork, once it was all tidied up, it was lovely. So first mod was KW coilovers.
Yeah.
Then changed the wheels. Had probably 6 different sets of wheels over the years on the car. And then my dad done a few body mods for me and bits like that, like the front bumper, shorten the front plate recess. And I always remember picking up the US spec rear number plate, the bumper section. I paid £19 for it on eBay because nobody wanted it back then. So that was one of the first few mods that I done. And then over the years, I remember it was 2014, colour changed it, and that was a case of sort of toying with the idea, and just went into my dad's body shop one Saturday and just started taking it apart. And I remember him walking through the door going, What are you doing? I said,
Dad, we've got a project.
We're car changing it. And he was like, oh, no. And it was already, the front wings were off, the doors were off, and it was just in bits. And that was it. And it just snowballed from there, really. It's suspension, wheels. I've got the cup mirrors on there as well, which, like the carbon fibre cup mirrors. So I welded up the doors, got rid of the teardrops.
Side repeaters off, I guess.
Yeah, side repeaters have gone.
Headlight washers.
Headlight washers have been smoothed over. Kept the smaller recess on the front. Didn't go completely smooth front bumper. Yeah. Tinted the inside of the headlights. That was all the time. The early mods you'd do. It's like there's like a silver band in the bottom of the headlight. Just paint that black and it darkens the headlights down.
I remember, sorry, Richie, I remember seeing your car in late 2012. So it was before you painted it Rubystone. It was still guards, and it was at Porsche Reading. I'd popped up. I'd literally been at T911 like weeks, and saw your car in the car park, and I took a picture of it because I'd just come from fast car, which obviously that stance is everything basically. And I remember seeing your car and being like, this guy knows what he's doing. But I have to say, the next time I saw it, I mean, I genuinely didn't recognise it because I think you changed the colour, but probably by the sounds of it, changed the wheels as well. But it was totally different. But
and the seats got 997 front seats in there.
They fit really well, don't they?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a trial and error.
Weekend,
it was again, eBay used to be brilliant before prices went through the roof. Picked up some their full sports adaptive seats as well.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
got those in. Managed to wire them all in as well, so they're all working, which wasn't as bad as what I thought really. So everything's up and running, and they went in fine. So the rear section they just bolt in on the original mounts, and the fronts you just have to make a plate to bolt the fronts in, and that's it. They fit in, just drop in perfectly. Yeah,
and they're the right size as well. They don't look silly. Like some of the modern seats in a early 911 look huge. Yeah, where they just fit right.
And I must say, even with when you shut the door car, everything just sits quite. More luck than judgment. I'm not going to lie. But they're so comfortable. I've done a couple of times. We've gone non-stop from Austria back to the UK, sort of 1,200 miles in one hit almost. Yeah. And they're just so you get out and you don't feel like you're in a 30-year-old car and you've just covered that many miles.
That's what I said about seat option is absolutely critical.
Yeah. And the other thing, the 3.2s were about Carreras at the same time, but for me, the 964 had power steering, electric, lots of creature comforts.
The right amount.
For what I wanted. Yeah. And in my eyes, it was always the Mark II Golf of the Porsche kind of. Coming from Volkswagens and bits like that, having a Mark II Golf, it had the big bumpers, and it was when they got it just right for me. And that was it. So I haven't looked back really. But
so how does that sit amongst your work colleagues then?
That must be really interesting.
It was. They're very much OEM. in their approach.
Oh,
It's
and
just
in
day job,
comes Mr. Sinky,
Yeah.
Mr. Pinky, scraping as it comes in.
But your day job is obviously OEM to the max.
Yeah, I think a few people probably just raise their eyebrows, don't say anything. But no, years ago, when I first messed around with it, there was a few like, what have you done to it? Why is it so low? And there was a few kind of people didn't get it, but the whole kind of attitude has changed a little bit more now. It's not wrong, really. Not that it was in the first place, but it's not really frowned upon. It's more acceptable, really.
I think, like you said, even with the Porsche exclusive type stuff, it's kind of there's more acceptance to having things different, having your own
personalisation.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, you just did it earlier before everyone else.
Yeah, it's funny because when it was red, there was a lot more love for it just out in the general public domain. You'd get a thumbs up when you're driving along, and as soon as I changed it to Rubystone, I noticed that you'd get people driving past and you can see them looking out the corner of their eye. You still get a thumbs up.
Serious?
But it had a lot more love when it was like just red and bits. But yeah, it's funny more, but in the last few years it does get quite a bit of thumbs up and people are just like, wow, it's pink. But yeah, I must admit, it's quite well received actually, because it is just
I remember seeing it at Luf GB. It was stuck down that little alley, sort of half poking out, but there was day was just
the only day of rain in sort of months, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was such a grey day, but there was the pinky was just shining like a beacon and amongst everything. It was I got some great pictures of it. It looked fantastic.
Yeah, that was a good day actually. Even with the weather, it was still a good day. It's good fun.
Okay, so we are still at Casa de Sibley, but we've come indoors because we've been chatting far too long and the sun's gone down and we couldn't see each other. Which is good. It must mean Richie's a fairly interesting bloke. So
don't stop talking.
We stopped the conversation previously with your 964 and how kind of different it is to, what shall we say, the OEM spec kind of fraternity of our kind of Porsche culture. Andy and I bumped into you at flat 6 flat whites, or is it flat white flat 6? I can't remember. But Ren 11s do on Saturday at Car Audio Security. I don't know about you guys. I thought that was awesome, and again was really indicative of a niche of Porsche car culture that over the years has really been marginalised, but actually that was a place to kind of come together and celebrate people that actually like cars with stance and silly wheels and whatnot, I
don't think there was a standard car there, was there?
No,
not many.
It was Richie's press car.
But
other than that,
holding its own, obviously.
But it was a really cool event.
That was really
good. Genuinely, because usually when you go to these sorts of things, say we went to Bicester the weekend before you guys went to Bewley, I don't think you'd have seen any of that kind of stuff there.
There's a funny pink one there.
Where was that?
So what did I miss out on then? Because obviously I had every intention of
your 964 mate would have been right at home there. 100%. 100%. Air ride and whatnot. You'd have gone down an absolute storm. But it was cool. And again, where we've spoken before, Porsche is inclusive, not exclusive, as we said before, etc. So there are people that appreciate, lower the car, stance, whatever. But you don't see it elsewhere. For me, anyway,
Yeah, I mean, it's a good bunch as well. So it's just, it's getting bigger and bigger as well. It was a good atmosphere down there. It's pretty chilled out. So
100%.
It's just, it was good. But you're right, you don't see some of the shows. It'd be more OEM or OEM plus kind of bits. But it is a kind of a niche thing still. But I think there's more and more people coming out the woodwork, and I think the whole Magnus Walker kind of hype has kind of given people different perceptions that, you can build an outlaw car and bits like that.
Gives people a bit of confidence, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Even though we were doing it like 10 years before, it kind of...
Yeah, well, we've spoke before, like us three on this pod, we're kind of all ex-Volkswagen, have just kind of grown into like Porsches, but it's all the same stuff. And all these stance cars, it kind of had like a bit of a player's feel almost, actually.
Yeah.
In terms of like the quality of the car and the lineup of car there.
Yeah.
It was great. It was really, really good.
Was there a standout car that you hadn't seen before? Or was it all stuff doing the rounds?
That
Well, it's just
BMW
loads
at
of
the
good
end was
cars.
pretty cool, to be fair. That old like E30 cab or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? We were trying to go, and then Matey Boy turned up with that, and I just remember thinking, I'm never going to leave. I'm literally never going to leave. There's so much to look at. You know? And this is the thing, where every car is different, you know, you take your time to look around it and to chat to the owner, because again, all these cars have all got stories attached to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And the fact you probably haven't seen anyone for I don't know how long as well.
Oh, yeah.
This
That's
is
the other thing.
exactly
There's
it.
a few faces
Yeah,
there. That I haven't
some
seen.
cars I didn't actually get to see because it was just chatting for
It's
hours
like
on end.
Your car went down the storm, Andy.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
100%, yeah.
With my silly
The
stripes.
stripes definitely.
Haribo stripes.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
But it was cool. It was where like being different was the norm,
Yes,
essentially.
yeah.
And just for like the variety and whatnot.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Which was the standout car there?
I must admit, I haven't caught up with Jay for quite a while.
Yeah,
so
that's
it was
looking
nice to have
good.
a good look round his
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
What else caught my eye?
Where he's done with the yellow seats inside, he's sort of added a few more extra bits and bobs to it.
It's kind of like that RS 964 RS tricolour interior, but with what they would have done with yellow and orange and bits. So it's cool.
We had Jay on the pod before, so definitely encourage people to go back and have a listen to that. But it was nice to see the car in person after like how he described it on the pod, and just even like the attention to detail on the cage.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
trim
good
occasion.
Yeah,
it's
it
got
was
yellow
like
outer colour.
really cool with like contrast stitching and that. And he's just, you know,
I quite like there was an orange 993 there, which caught
Oh, that's
my eye.
great. That's Chet's car.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be a Venturine green.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and he decided that he didn't want to be boring anymore and he'd respray it because it was a great car before, but he just
Fantastic.
fancied. That's what he's always wanted, an orange.
Fair play to
993.
him.
what was it? Was
Yeah.
it lava or not?
I can't remember.
It looked like
It's-
pastel, like
Oh, right.
orange,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. But yeah, it was.
It's punchy. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of the guys were like, "Is that original?" And then I was kind of looking around, like, if it could well be of like a special request or colour, but
Yeah.
I didn't realise.
It's absolutely awesome. Absolutely
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, there's some really good, nice cars there.
I love that 996 C2 that was like static, absolutely slammed.
Oh,
to
what,
the
next to
floor.
me?
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name. He drove all the way down from Hull for that.
Yeah, like awesome. Absolutely awesome. That was cool. That was really cool.
DJ Smith, I think his Instagram handle is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That there was a 4S the other side of me. I was sandwiched between
Yeah.
two grey 996s.
Yes, Paul, his name was.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Paul
Forest.
Bridges' car. Yeah,
Yeah.
good plate.
Yes. Yeah. Really good looking car.
What's the plate?
Shitter. That's what it's supposed to say. That's
Seriously,
what it's
I
supposed to
never clocked that. That's excellent. He did say he'd driven it like 3,500 miles in 5 years. He didn't really use it, so he needs to sort that one out. I'd say,
He's
but
got-
nice guy.
He's got a lovely. It's either a Mark 1 or Mark 2 Escort as well, which I think he hasn't used for 2 years as well.
Yeah.
I saw he actually rolled that out the garage the other day as well.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, he did allude to the fact there were other things sitting in the stable. So,
Yeah.
fair play. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was good show. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, but like I say, it fascinates me really where your day job is very OEM, toe the company line and whatnot, and then in your pastime you're just an absolute like Porsche outlaw basically, you know, flying on the other side of the dotted line.
That's why we like try and incorporate a little bit of it at work as well with like these crazy spec cars or bits like that. But it's not much of a divide between it really.
Yeah.
So I think it's just you get used to the modified cars, but some of the GT product now really. It's not far off of what you end up doing to some of your own stuff. Like the Outlaw, really, there's a very fine line between it. So, it's the way the product's changed. There's not much in it anymore, really. Compared to, or maybe I've just changed my views a little bit more on modifying cars. I don't know. Maybe I've grown up a little bit. I don't know.
Sticking to the theme of what you're kind of doing away from the day job, you have quite a hand in your dad's business, in the family business, Milestone 71. So can you shed a bit of light on that and what the business entails?
So Dad, he's had a body shop for the last 50 years. He's still got 71, still running the business. Involved with that as well. So it's kind of he was used to be one of the biggest, or one of the biggest, like Volkswagen customising body shops.
Awesome,
so it'd be like smooth engine bays and some crazy kind of paint jobs and bits like
that. Was he the go-to
so.
man for that stuff?
Yeah, there was a guy called Steve Denton who used to run Premier up in Northampton.
Yeah.
Then there's guys at Reflex as well. Then like my dad, sort of in the south. There was kind of like, I remember one year he had like 6 cover cars in PVW, that kind of thing, cars that he'd been involved with or built. So yeah, that was kind of like the thing at the time. All Volkswagen, modifying Volkswagens, that kind of thing. So Jay had a few cars go through my dad's body shop. That's how I got to know Jay, really through my dad and the body shop. So yeah, it's and off the back of that, we kind of do KW suspension. So I've been a KW dealer since like 2012, I think it is, something like that. So heavily involved with the guys there. They helped me out with my suspension on my 964, which is quite a lot of work, really, of just getting custom springs I wanted and bits like that, and just getting the suspension to be, even though it's ridiculously low, it's compliant and drives no different to like let's say a 997 GT3 or something like that. So a lot of work went involved with that, and the guys have been really good. Sort of been accommodating my crazy
ideas.
Was that a lot of trial and error, or was that
a little bit
before you start?
Yeah, KW used to do like an ultra low kit, but it would never in Germany get TUV approval. So it was kind of something they touched base on. A lot of it was for Volkswagens, and then moved on to some of the 911 stuff as well. But with the whole TUV approval, it was kind of it was never going to come to any fruition, but they dabbled in it for a while, and there was a few kits available made, and that's kind of where it came from, really. So I got a lot of thanks to those guys for patience of so many different spring choices and bits like that, just to get it compliant and riding nice. And again, with the dampers as well. So that's another avenue that they do at the body shop as well. But it's a bit of everything, really. But even now, Daddy kind of picks and chooses what he wants to do. He's in that kind of time of life, really, that maybe eventually he'll retire, but I think he doesn't admit it, but I think he still enjoys it. So but you do see some you wander into the body shop and be like, there's a 2.7 RS sitting there, and I was like, and then, are you busy? Yeah, quite busy. Like, but don't want to go too mad. And then it'd be a 993 and having a repaint, and just it's really sort of bizarre, sort of different jobs in bits like that. Or there'd be like a Maybach in there. You think,
where did that come from?
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
Brilliant.
Is there anyone building anything interesting at the moment you know of?
There is a couple of builds in the pipeline. I think one was due to sort of debut this weekend at Play. It's only going on social, seeing what's being built. Jason, he's building a pretty special 964. And then there's a couple of them in the pipeline, and that's the thing. The level of build has just gone through the roof now, and it has gone to that kind of like what VW proper build, not just these days. It's lease a car, stick air on it, and a set of wheels kind of thing. These are like proper
wrong with that?
Smooth engine, but it's like smooth engine bay kind of stuff and bits like that, and you can see that generation have moved on from sort of different projects into, let's say, like 911s, or whether it be like a Ferrari, I don't know, but
it's amazing how many people in Porsches have come from that VW scene, isn't it? Just nuts.
It's just natural progression, I think. If you earn if you earn yourself a few more quid and you want to go a little bit faster, where'd you go?
And I've always wanted a split screen camper, and I'd love, and I've missed out on one a long time ago, and only because it was rotten, but I just at the time didn't have anywhere to keep it. But the whole intention was to put a 911 engine in it, and I was going to shoehorn a 3.6 911 engine in there because I just didn't want to go over at 40 miles an hour.
I had an old Type 3 Carmen Gypsy.
Did you?
And that was literally 45 miles an hour
maximum.
I crawled up the hill on the A31, and you go into second gear at 20 miles an hour. And you just got the train of traffic behind you. It's just
and a wry smile on your face as well. Like.
Agricultural machinery flying past.
Literally,
I had a 55 split screen for a bit, and that was like there's people walking faster. It's
a lifestyle.
Apparently,
it did used to sort of everything slowed down. Definitely, you kind of got in that thing, and it was like, okay.
They just sort of, I mean, I don't know. They sort of become overly cool, haven't they? And it's sort of, they're just. I mean, they are. No one can say they're great to drive. I mean, it's sort of the wheel can sort of turn it by a good sort of 18 inches either way. It doesn't actually change the way
it's doing the ship. Yeah,
I remembered that. I picked up this van, took it for an MOT, took it into Porsche to get it to see if it had passed an MOT. And they said there's literally nothing holding the steering box to the front panel. I was like, oh, okay. So I just drove it back again that evening. And remember coming down this hill near Basingstoke. And it's got, normal car, it's fine. And I just remember almost screaming with laughter coming down the hill because I just couldn't control it. And it just managed to somehow sail it through this bend and back up a hill. I was like, wow, that was lucky.
Maybe I don't want one now.
Yeah. Richie, I want to ask you, like with 964 values, we've asked before, like Matt Glussett that was on the pod a couple of series back. As a fellow 964 owner, and obviously yours isn't stock. Where do you sit? Are you happy with where values are going, or do you find that it's quite prohibitive in terms of like you've been able to enjoy the car, not as an investment piece? Obviously, you've done very well there.
I mean, never bought it had no idea that values were going to go the way they were going to go. Yeah. Still drive it like a $9,000 car at the end of the day, which I have to remind myself about as well. But
still, I mean, you could. I mean, I think there is an argument that. Someone said, who was it? I can't remember what someone was saying. Someone was saying about this. There's people that they're racing £1 million race cars and whatever else, and they're saying, well, that's ridiculous. They shouldn't be driven, and anything about the cost to repair it, and whatever. And it's putting a wing on a car, roughly speaking, very slightly, but cost to repair it is still going to be $10,000 or whatever. So actually, I think there's some merit in that. Worst case, if you knocked a corner off it and you had to rebuild it, ironically to you, you've got a body shop at your disposal. But even without that, it's not. I don't know. I think it's a shame if people kind of get that in their head where they're like, oh, well, now it's worth 50, 60, 70, 80 grand. Yeah. I can't touch it. Well, if something goes wrong, you've got the same bills.
A bit like a millionth 911 that we done up in Scotland. There's a
Irish green car.
That's right, yeah. And they had the customer there with his GT1. It was a 993 GT1. Yeah. And he was driving it on the road trip and following like the convoy and bits like that. Brilliant. And that car was, it must be, I don't know, £12 million maybe, insured, and he's quite happy just racing along in it. And I do remember we stopped at one of the points, and he said his back was aching because you can't move the seat. He literally backwards and forwards, that was it. And the windows were fixed and a bit, so he's like, oh, my back's aching too much, we need to get it. Can you drive it back? So,
oh wow, bloody hell.
Oh, okay.
I told you had the best job in the car.
So then it was a case of what's the excess? Right, okay. So in the end, we had to ring the legal department, and it was I don't think we're going to bother this.
Really?
Sorry.
Vetoed,
So I did get to drive to the petrol station a couple of times in the evening a bit. So that was another again. You were saying about a great job. Yeah, I get to drive some unusual stuff. It's like a bucket list of cars.
That's outrageous, Richie.
So, but that was quite a cool moment. And I remember just getting in it, thinking, oh, okay, right, just don't. But then you just don't think about it being. Well, I didn't think about it being of that sort of value. Yeah. And you just get it. It's a car. You just drive it and just keep your wits about you. And I remember jumping in it to take it down to the fuel station. And it just started raining. I was like, I can't believe it. The moment I get in there, it starts raining. But it's, in some of the cars we've used to do photography, had 917 number 1 that was left in our care from the museum, and we're pushing it around, but it's like insured for £25 million and bits like that. So.
It's a big old lump of history as well.
But at the time, you don't really think about it. You're just trying to figure out how you're going to climb in and out of it, and then where you're going to put it for the next shot, or bits like that, or just get the engine cover open without dropping anything. And so it kind of, yes, it's in the back of your mind, but values and that, it kind of just... Call me blasé, maybe. I don't know. But like I say, so again, with my car, it is now an investment, but it's still really just... my daily driver that's become my second car, really.
Is it something you think you might part with at some point, or are you going to get buried in it?
Me and Matty have spoken about this as well. We're like, when it gets to a certain point, if it gets to a certain point...
take the money and run?
Yeah, do you like...
What's the number then?
I don't honestly know. I mean, they've gone... I've got an agreed value on it now for 65, and I'm quite happy to talk about that, but I just think... it's a lot of money, really. And there's part now and then I don't drive it, and I think, oh, I might get rid of it. The moment I jump back in it and drive it, I think, no, I'm not going to sell it. So it's
interesting, isn't it? Because someone sat in front of you with a checkbook and they go, "Well, 65 at the moment is probably a no."
Yeah.
But would 85 turn your head?
Anyway, I've had some offers before already.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? Where you go, no, it's not for sale, and then someone goes, "Okay, I'll give you 6 figures for it," and you suddenly go, "Oh,
yeah." And but there's always that. Oh, now it is worth X, Y, Z. Do you just sit it out, and then it could go the other way? So you don't. It's
I think the biggest problem is, assuming we haven't all got endless pots of money to spend. With that money, what do you get?
Well,
into?
Exactly.
Because that's the problem. It's like it's all good and well getting out of a car, but does that get you into another one you actually want?
Well, go on then, Richie P. So hypothetically, if someone offers you, that sort of money, is there anything out there that you would say, well, look, okay, if I got X amount for it, that would turn my head? Or is it a case of that's...
Yeah, I think it'd be, like you say, if it was something like daft of like 75 or 80 grand, it's a lot of money not to seriously consider. But then I'd be like, what would I...
It wouldn't be a new car because that's your day job. So I
don't know. I've still got this hankering for a 997 Gen 1 Cabriolet.
Oh, okay. That's
just completely...
That's
just
a curveball.
Use it every day and enjoy it. Gen 2s are lovely, but just something about the original lights in the Gen 1.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was thinking that definitely on Saturday when we were at Ren 11, there was a .1 turned up and it had the all red rear lights, and they just look classic almost, don't they, compared to the .2s were all a bit blingy and LED wise.
Yeah, that's interesting. So a little bit newer.
Yeah. Again, 997 GT3 would be great. And I think they still are sensibly priced at the moment, but it'd have to be a Gen 1 really. Again, the big ducks in the front bumper with the bigger style light. That's my thing. Yeah. So I always remember one of my fondest press cars was probably Kermit, which was the
997.1.
.1 GT3 RS. Got a lot of fond memories of that car. So that's probably my all-time favourite. And it was nice that it came in actually for a service, so the guy who owns it knows the problems with it and bits like that, and went out to look for it, I believe, and managed to pick it up. So he's had it last 10 odd years, I think.
Oh, wow, okay.
Cool. Yeah. So, but it's nice to see it come back and bits. So yeah, that's probably my all-time favourite, that car.
Yeah.
Do you think like a GT3 though is too much? Like the 964 is that perfect balance?
Is there ever too much? I don't know.
I don't think there is.
But no, I think some of the colleagues in Germany call it balance of power.
Yeah.
Which is like new GT3 is more aero than power. Maybe it does get to a point where you get the best of both worlds. But no, I don't think so, because you can drive it subdued. That's the great thing about them, is you can drive them around town subdued, then go out and do a track day.
And drive it home.
Yeah, and there's no real...
Maybe it's just my problem that I can't do things. Drive subdued. To limit the power.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I guess I'm fortunate. I've driven some silly horsepower cars like GT2 RS, and it will turn 27 miles per gallon, 28 miles per gallon at 70 miles an hour on the motorway, and it's quite happy just ticking over, and then you can take it out on track and it'll do 200 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So it's just that spoiled probably is the right word, isn't
it? Well, you mentioned the cars there in terms of like the highlights of your like Porsche career, but what about people? I bet you've met some brilliant people like in the company, but also like elsewhere as well. So are there any kind of standout anecdotes you can recall, or anyone you think, well, they're a pretty good character reference incoming?
Yeah, I must admit, again, lucky, been in some positions of being around some celebrities, I guess you call them, but
I wouldn't call us that, but you know.
I mean, Derek Bell is an absolute blast, and I've been lucky. I've had lunch with him a few times, and just some of the stories of years gone by, it's just brilliant. So again, Richard Atwood, great. Kind of just sit there and listen to some of the stories that you don't always get to hear. Yeah, and
very unassuming bloke. Stratwood.
Mark Webber. Yeah, he is actually. Yeah, very humble about what he's achieved as well. Really.
He doesn't shout about the fact that he gave Porsche its first Le Mans victory.
Yeah,
just tells people he did a bit of club racing, as we spoke about on the pod before. Fantastic.
Mark Webber, he's just nice, down to earth guy, really. So it's always, and that makes it's a pleasure working with these people as well. And going to like TV stuff. Matt LeBlanc, really, really nice guy, and that's
big Porsche guy as well.
Massive Porsche fan. Yeah, so great. So we just got to hit it off straight away with that, and sort of in his time in Top Gear, kind of got a bit friendlier with him, bits like that. And yeah, it's great. Talking, he had like 930 flat nose, which is like one of the first to go into North America, and he had a 997 GT2 RS and stuff like that. But yeah, it's quite interesting, really. But all these people, you kind of, grow up watching different race drivers achieve stuff, bits like that. And then one day you're standing there having a conversation with them.
It's surreal.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Yeah, there is some surreal moments, but I don't really get starstruck. But it's one of those that you kind of afterwards think, oh, that's pretty cool.
I reckon they've gone home at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
I met a Guinness World Record holder today.
You won't believe who I met today.
Yeah, exactly that.
Well, they've gone home. Who was that bloke?
Sound bloke, but he had a pink RS pink RS lookalike. Right, we better finish up because you've got a long journey back. You have been an absolute star in coming down to the South Coast to talk to us, Richie. So we are eternally grateful for that.
Thank you.
And you are one of the most humble people in the industry, and you definitely do have the best job in the industry as well. So
one of the best titles.
Oh, 100%. 100%, Sir Richie P. Sir Richie P.
Guinness World Record holder.
Yeah. As you know, the Road to Redline, the acid test of your personality is, of course, the 10 questions at the end.
Oh, yes.
Which I'm sure you're well versed in by now. So quick fire, as you know.
I still... Yeah, I've listened to it every time and still know if I had the opportunity of sitting here, would not know what to...
Yeah, well, no pressure, because there'll be the sweat forming there. So,
Richie, it's your time. Are you ready?
I think so.
Hey, here we go. Right, air or water?
Air.
Favourite Porsche model?
Oh, it would need to be 964 RS 3.8.
Oh, yeah, stellar.
Good.
That's Lee's new one.
Stellar.
We could probably answer this for you. Favourite Porsche colour?
Rubystone.
Who is your ultimate Porsche icon?
Oh, I could say Derek Bell.
Yeah, very nice.
Nice.
Favourite track?
Oh, Spa.
Spa. To Fook or not to Fook?
Not.
Anything but.
Stock or hot rod?
Hot rod.
Hey. Narrow or wide body?
Narrow.
Cars and coffee or a track day?
Cars and coffee.
Last but not least, do you do back seats in your 911?
Not in mine, no.
And you've got little people.
Yeah. See, there's always room for a Cayenne.
Absolutely awesome. What an awesome way to finish the pod, to be honest. Richie P, thank you so much, mate, for coming on.
Thank you, guys. It's been brilliant.
Appreciate it.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, good to have Richie on.
Fantastic. And as we said a couple of times, so we record this pod down in Dorset, and he is on his way back up to Hampshire. That's a fair old schlep because it's not like the near side of Hampshire to us.
Yeah.
So that's
got to be an hour and a half, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a fair old schlep on a
Thank you very much for coming down, Richie.
Yeah,
much appreciated.
After doing a shift at Porsche for the day. So thank you, mate. We appreciate that. Patreons and the red carpet, road to red carpet. Or
the red carpet.
Yeah, the red carpet.
Yeah.
There's been an update in that Andy has actually managed to source some red carpet. So it sounds like we're actually
We've actually located the red carpet.
Yeah.
We can come through with whatever this is. We now need to work out what we're going to do with the red carpet. So, yeah.
What's the Patreons looking like?
Patreon. Oh, should we just do 3rd of July? If you want to come, there's still some room.
Yes.
Get in there quick.
Where's the best place to find the link?
Probably on our Instagram. If you go on there, and then there's a link to the bio. little page there that's got the link to the Everbright site to register your place on the
I think
event.
Eventbrite, you can also probably search for the red carpet and you'll probably find it on there too.
I'm not sure actually, because the way that I've set it up.
Oh, is it secret?
It's not secret, but it's through the link rather than it being a public event.
Hit the bio then.
Yeah, hit the bio.
Yeah.
To get to it.
Are we going to do lanyards? I know you'd mentioned it before.
Yeah, it's all done,
Is it really,
yeah.
Andy? You're on it.
Yeah.
You're on it. But that's a great idea. So as this is obviously the medium of sound, it's kind of difficult to put faces to names and whatnot when you're at the show. So there'll be lanyards around that will give all attendees just kind of, especially for people that have been on the pod, it'll be able to help people kind of distinguish who these people are, and hopefully it'll encourage some conversation.
I think Andy's signed the back of all of them, hasn't he?
Yeah, the famous 993 Andy. But we just want everybody to have a chat with people. That's what these events are all about.
I think there's lots of people that get to know each other through commenting on our posts as well.
Yeah.
So fellow listeners, it'd be good to say, I know who you are.
Yeah.
So,
anybody that's answered any of the 10 questions at the end of the pod incorrectly, our previous guests, obviously feel free to chastise to their face. So.
It's going to turn to a brawl, isn't it?
With any luck.
Yeah, we've had going back to Patreons, we've had a couple of new Patreons. Matt Pickering, who has just joined us today.
Great timing, Matt. Top of the list.
And James Chew, who joined us on Friday. Thank you very much. Both of those are sponsoring us a coffee a month, so that's much appreciated. Thank you.
Awesome. We appreciate your support, chaps. As always, all helps go to make this pod better. I don't know, probably not, but it just enables us to keep going. The coffee is especially welcome. So
indeed, thank you.
Awesome.
To next week.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing yet, do we?
No idea.
Nope. Let's get that sorted. But till then, au revoir.
Ciao.
Bye.
You've been listening to Road to Redline, the #1 Porsche and car podcast fueled by our generous Patreons. If you'd like to join in supporting the podcast, please see patreon.com/Road to Redline and find us on Instagram.